So Pamela, as we found in our study that we did in early this year, pain is the number one symptom that people use cannabis for. What are some of the products and why is CBD good for pain?
So CBD is a wonderful cannabinoid. It's one of the many cannabinoids found in the cannabis plant, but it's one of the main ones. There are two main cannabinoids. There's CBD, cannabidiol, and then THC. Cannabidiol is an anti-inflammatory, it's an analgesic, it's an antiemetic, it's antispasmodic. It also happens to relax people, and it's also an antidote to the high that you get from THC. Mm-hmm. So many products that you'll find in cannabis products that you'll find have a combination of CBD to THC. The products that I tend to use for pain are a higher ratio of CBD to THC, and the two tend to work in conjunction. And THC also has a lot of wonderful pain relieving properties, but as I said, it's psychoactive. So for CBD products, you have to look across the wide spectrum of products and actually try to find a high CBD ratio product. So if you start with a flower, there are high percentage CBD strains out there, such as Harley Sue, Canatonic, AC/DC, Charlotte's Web, and those create a really wonderful body relaxation and take the pain down several notches if you smoke or vape a high CBD strain. So that's one way you can go.
And so the proportions you're talking about, you mean like a 4-to-1, which you mean a 4%, a 4-to-1 CBD to THC ratio or something?
Well, it's interesting. You're talking about ratios which you'll tend to see that more with a tincture or a sublingual spray, but with a strain you'll see it in terms of percentages. So if you look at a strain such as Charlotte's Web, I believe it's around 99% CBD to THC. It's very negligible, whatever the THC is. But then if you look at something like Canasue, you might find that it's more around, 60% of CBD to 40% THC. So you might see it in a ratio, but more often than not, you'll actually see it in percentage with the strains.
So it depends on the product that you're using, if it's either percentage or milligrams.
Exactly.
Okay.
In an oil cartridge for a vape, there's a wonderful new product out there by Bloom Farms, which I'm a big fan of, called Electrosue, and they actually do present that in a ratio, so that's a 3-to-1, and I find that absolutely takes out my migraines. It's really fantastic, creates a body relaxation, and for me, 3 or 4 puffs and I'm not high, I just feel great and there's no pain.
So are there other products that you mentioned that you'd like to mention?
So there are many other ways that you can take CBD. One would be a tincture. With tinctures, you're going to look at the ratio. So you could have it as high as 28-to-1, that tends to be towards if somebody's having epileptic seizures. Or you can look at a 20-to-1, and when I say 20, the CBD always comes first and the THC always comes second. So it's 20 parts CBD to 1 part THC. So for myself, I take a 20-to-1 CBD ratio every single day, and that helps to keep my migraines and fibromyalgia in check. Other people will tend to go to, say, a 4-to-1. When you get to this level, 4-to-1 or less, 4-to-1 or a 1-to-1, you start to get into a borderline psychoactive product. That may work for some people and it may not work for others. So a tincture is the way to go. You can also go with a sublingual spray. There are many different kinds of sprays. You use that under your tongue. The effects come on within 10 to 15 minutes, similar to a tincture. Other products that you might choose are an edible. It's harder to find a high CBD edible, but they are out there. A lot of them tend to be hemp-based. You could also find capsules that are high CBD. Some of them may be hemp-based, which is a different form of cannabis without all of the different higher ratios of cannabinoids or THC, but that's also a form of CBD that you can take. To me, it's really about finding what works for your body, what works for you, and experimenting with a variety of different products. For me, I'll use a tincture throughout the day, and then I'll use a vape pen if I tend to have more acute pain.
And this is the same type of thing we've talked about many, many times, in other words, to go low and slow, to start, depending on what you're taking and what you're taking it for, to start with a low amount and concentration of the cannabis, whatever form it is, like you mentioned, and just slowly increase it till you get that effect that you're looking for.
Correct. And just to always remember when you're going low and slow or you're starting with a new product, that the effect may not, even if it says it's the same milligrams and it's the same ratio, the effect may not be the same.
Depending on the product, or
depending on the product.
Right.
So they could look like they're equivalent, but when you take them, they could have a totally different effect on you. So I always start with a very, very minimal dosage and work my way up.
Great. That's great advice. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.